Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes. So once again, welcome to all the participants. Let us first see what this teacher eligibility test is and a little bit about structure of this test. What are the different options we have under different subjects. Before that, I would like to just bring to your notice that this schedule was sent to you. There are little changes because some of you will be attending some specific subjects according to your own methods at B.Ed level. So mathematics and social sciences, you see here, mathematics will happen on Sunday and social science will be on Monday. Okay, so these are the two changes. These two subjects are interchanged because of resource persons unavailability. Also, we told you that Marathi, which is a common paper for all of you, there will be additional inputs given to you, and we need to decide on which day can we have that. Maybe one day in the afternoon or in the evening we can have 1 hour session for all of you to understand Marathi also, what type of questions and how you need to study for Marathi. So I hope all of you will join your WhatsApp group. Link is sent to all of you through mail. So please see to it that you join the WhatsApp group, and there we will decide on which day can we have this Marathi additional inputs for all those who are interested in learning about Marathi subject 2. Okay, so this was about the timetable, and please see to it that now some of you will have some optional papers, so you decide whether you're going to attend all 4 days or according to your subjects. Certain subjects which are compulsory for all of you, so those you will have to attend, and there are some options. Let us understand what options you will have. First of all, I would like to tell you this is the website where you will get all the information about MH-TET, www.MH-TET, that is mahatet.in. So whatever doubts you have, whatever you want to see, you can go on this website and you will get all the information over here. So please note it down. This is how the website looks. There are different circulars also, and all the recent updates about TET also will be available over there. So this is one site which you need to refer every now and then for all the new circulars or whatever announcements are happening. Now, who are eligible? Those who have acquired their B.Ed degrees, those who are pursuing, that means those who are in the second year of their B.Ed or D.Ed, also can apply, and definitely those who have already finished their B.Ed, D.Ed also. Some union territories or some states are out of this TET compulsion, so that you will have to search, but Maharashtra, we have already started this. Now, how is the structure of this test? It's MCQ type of test. All questions will be in multiple choice questions format. Each question will carry 1 mark. There'll be 4 alternatives, out of which 1 will be correct, and you need to mark that correct one. There is no negative marking. Okay, so even if your answer is wrong, you are not going to get any negative marks. Whatever answers are correct, you're going to score 1 mark for each correct answer. Now, this Maharashtra TET is divided into 2 papers. Paper 1, you need to appear if you are intending to teach standard 1 to 5. Paper 2 for those who want to teach from 6 to 8 standard. Okay, and if you are teaching across 1st to 8, then maybe you will have to appear for both paper 1 and paper 2. Okay, so some of you have selected only paper 1 maybe for TET, which is happening on 10th October. Some of you have selected paper 2 only, and some of you may be appearing for both the papers. So according to that, you see what sessions are you going to attend if you have a choice. Now, there are 2 languages for TET. It's a bilingual paper. So these are the options. If you take language 1 as Marathi, automatically your second language will be English. If you take language 1 as English, automatically your second language will be Marathi. So here you see that in every combination, Marathi is there, compulsory. That is because this is MH-TET, Maharashtra TET. So Marathi language has to be there, and you as a participant or as examining, you have to be knowing Marathi, and also you need to appear for that Marathi section in the TET paper. Now let us quickly see paper 1, which is for class 1 to 4. 150 MCQs will be there, and 150 minutes you will get to solve the paper. So 1 minute per MCQ you have. And there are these sections or subheads under which your questions will be. So first one is child development and pedagogy. So 30 MCQs on child development, and they will carry 30 marks, as 1 MCQ is for 1 mark. Then language 1 and 2, whatever you choose, English, Marathi, Marathi, English, or Hindi, Marathi, whatever, on each there will be 30 MCQs. Then you have mathematics and environmental science as other two subheads, for which again 30 MCQs will be there. So according to this distribution, there will be 150 MCQs and there will be 150 marks for it. Okay, this is for paper 1. So all those who are going to appear for paper 1, you will have to prepare accordingly. Now in our schedule, you will see the child development and pedagogy we have English language session also. We will be having one additional session because some participants requested us to have a Marathi session also. So that session will be additional. We will have to see when can we have it. Then mathematics session is there and environmental studies is same as science. So science section is also there. So you will have to attend your sessions according to whatever paper you are appearing for. Now paper 2, same pattern again, 150 MCQs, 150 minutes you will have, 2.5 hours that is, okay, sorry, there's a mistake, 2.5 hours. Here again you see the child development and pedagogy is there, 30 marks. Now though it is there in both the papers, the content will be different, as in the content will be depending on the age group which you are handling. Okay, so 1st to 4th standard will have 6 to 11 years age group on which they will be questioned, and paper 2 will be 11 to 14 years. Okay, so your content will be definitely different. Language 1, language 2, you will have again similar way, Marathi, English, Marathi, Hindi, Marathi, whatever, or Urdu maybe. Marathi has to be there in one language at least. And then you have option, either you take mathematics and science as your specialization, or you take social studies as your specialization. So mathematics and science, you will have total 60 MCQs, okay, 30 mathematics, 30 science, and if you take social studies, you will have 60 MCQs in that. So here also you see 150 marks, 150 MCQs are there. Now again, when you check your schedule which is sent to you, and just now what I showed to you, child development is there common, English language will be also there common for all of you, and Marathi also. Mathematics and science, those who are appearing, those who have done their B.Ed or they are graduated from science faculty, they will go for mathematics and science. Those who are from arts background will select social studies. Okay, so you have option either to attend mathematics and science sessions, or if you are not appearing for mathematics and science, you can only attend social studies session in this particular workshop. Okay, so accordingly you decide if you want to attend all 5 also, it is okay with us, but if you need to have a choice, it is depending on you, because some of you asked us what if I'm not appearing, so it is up to you. You then attend whatever sessions are applicable to you. The question paper will be always bilingual in whatever 2 languages you have selected. Okay, so your question paper will be in that. So each question will be there in 2 languages so that you understand it well. Qualifying marks, 60% or more you need to score in your TET to consider yourself as TET passed candidate. Yes, 60%. Not, it is not 40 or 35% like other exams. It is 60% or more. So if you are giving your exams out of 150 marks, so you need to score at least 90 marks. Okay, to pass this particular exam. There are certain concessions for SC, ST, OBC, differently able people, that you can check on the website. Okay, for them maybe passing percentage a little low. Also, weightage will be there for your TET scores when the recruitment process is happening. That is when you apply for any jobs. Okay, so your TET scores will be given consideration. However, qualifying the TET would not confer a right on any person for recruitment. So that also, it doesn't mean that you have cleared TET. That means you have to get a job, or you can, demand a job. It will depend upon other factors like your interviews, other qualifications, etc. Frequency and validity, once every year. Okay, but this one, what is happening after a long time because of lockdown. And for how many years it is valid? Earlier it was only 7 years validity period. That means after you clear your TET, within next 7 years you had to take up a job. But now that is changed to lifetime. Okay, so once you clear your TET, it is valid for lifetime. Anytime you can apply for a job on the basis of your certificate. There is no restriction on number of attempts. You can attempt it twice, thrice till you clear it. Also, if you score less, even if you pass, but your percentage are less, and if you want to score better, you can appear again just for improving your score. So that facility also is there. Okay, this is all about structure of TET. Do you have any questions right now, participants?
Hello, ma'am. I wanted to ask you one question. Sorry, I just came late. Just now I got the link, so I was
Okay.
late. I wanted to ask you this second paper, 6th to 8th standard.
Hmm.
So I have choiced for social studies. So
Okay.
in that, how many subjects I have to answer? Languages I wanted to find out. Language.
Language will be you, whatever you select, any two languages, ma'am, you will have to, out of that Marathi will be compulsory and one more language you can consider.
English, and then mathematics and science is not compulsory, no, in that.
It is not compulsory, it depends on your specialization, what you are specialized in, what were your methods for your
Because
B.Ed level.
yes, MA have done in
Huh.
history.
So you
Okay,
will
so
be
that
applicable for social science only.
okay, okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I just have one question. I might have missed it out, but is Marathi a compulsory paper
Yes,
for
yes.
someone who's not even learned Marathi?
If you are working in Maharashtra, if you are giving MH-TET, Marathi is compulsory because it
All
is
right,
language.
all right, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's all. Any other questions?
Ma'am, one more question. Like for the teachers who will teach for 9 to 12 standard, is there some other paper for TAT?
9 to 12 standard on paper, it is not applicable right now. Sir will be taking his session and sir will clarify this. But right now, though new and this education policy is saying that it should be compulsory till standard 12 teachers. Right now, we don't have any clarity because we have not yet implemented NEP in totality. So maybe in future that will be happening. But right now on paper, what we have is up to standard 8 only.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, that's all.
Ma'am, uh, ma'am,
Hmm.
uh, actually, I'm a commerce student. So in B.Ed, my first subject is maths and second method is English. So do I have to select maths and social studies?
I'm not sure whether you will get that option. You have either maths and science as one, this thing option, and social sciences as second. Now, I don't think you will be able to choose maths and social science because social science carries 60 marks weightage. You must have seen in the tables just now, and maths will have 30 marks. So I don't think that will work out. But definitely, sir will be in a position to clarify your doubt. So when after sir finishes his session, maybe you can. Clarify this doubt. But according to me, it will not happen. You have to choose either totally social sciences or maths and science, whichever.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so that's all about the structure of TT. I hope it is clear with you all so that as we proceed, you have clarity about your sessions and also you can then attend your sessions accordingly, according to your subjects. All right. Now, I need to make some announcements before we start our session for the day. I have already informed you about changes in the schedule, so please be aware. Don't go by the schedule which is given on the brochure which was sent to you. So go by whatever brochure is sent to you now, whatever schedule is sent to you through mail. Tomorrow's session, the resource person has requested us that she wants to do it on Zoom platform. Okay, so it will be better that all of you join the WhatsApp group link of which is sent to you through mail. And if you don't have the link, please message me personally. I will give you the link to join the WhatsApp group, because whatever changes are happening, we will be now posting them on the WhatsApp group. So please see to it that you're part of WhatsApp group. I only see 55, 60 participants there on WhatsApp, and actually in reality there are 90 of you who have registered so far. And Marathi extra session which we'll be taking, we need to decide on which day can we have it. All right, so these are some announcements. Tomorrow's session will be on Zoom. Please make sure, do not join this link. We have said that all 5 days the link will be same. But tomorrow's resource person, last night she has asked us that she will be more comfortable in the Zoom platform. So we have allowed that, and we will be sending the link to you through WhatsApp group. Through mail also we will send definitely. So that's all for this whatever announcements we had to do. Now we will start with the session for the day. Today's session is on child development and pedagogy. Okay, and we have Mr. Prakash Almeida with us to take this session. I will briefly introduce Sir. Mr. Prakash Almeida likes to introduce himself as a curious man and an independent lifelong learner. He has experience over 2 decades of teaching English at various levels. He has 18 master's degree to his credits. He has completed 18 master degrees, and recently when I spoke to him, he was appearing for one more examination. So he's truly a lifelong learner. Okay? And he also has dozens of various diplomas and certificate courses which he has completed successfully. Knowledge Fountain, the institute he founded, has a powerful slogan: our knowledge, your power. So this is the slogan which is, very, very apt for Sir's personality, because his knowledge is going to be our power, and this you're going to experience in today's session also. He is 2 times gold medalist of Indira Gandhi National Open University and has received many other awards and honors. He has studied knowledge management at IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Calcutta, IIM Mumbai, IIT Mumbai also. He holds certificates in innovation and entrepreneurship development from IIT Madras and Kharagpur. He has over 20 online certificates program with NPTEL and SWAYAM, which he has successfully completed. He is also associated with many institutions. He has been guiding and preparing students for various competitive entrance and recruitment exams, and he has been preparing students for CET, TET, CTET, and NET-SET examinations also. So we have a very competent personality with us today, who has, vast experience in the field of teachers eligibility test. So we request you, sir, to take over the session. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and being with us today.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning to you all. First of all, let me thank Dr. Sister Tanuja Madam for giving us this opportunity to have a direct interaction with you. And thank you, Cinderella Madam, for this well-planned and well-executed session. I congratulate and thank St.Teresa College, because you are the only institution that takes this type of initiatives for the benefit of students. And let me make a small announcement. Amita's session that is on maths will be also on Zoom, because she will be teaching directly on board. So it will be very useful to you, because you will be able to interact with her directly, and it will be a very power-packed, exhaustive session covering very good topics. So that session will be also on Zoom. So now we will start. So today my topic is child development and pedagogy, as Cinderella Madam said, and you know that this topic is for 30 marks, and it is common for paper 1 and paper 2. And see, when you talk about a teacher, of course, the teacher is expected to have sound subject knowledge, then excellent command of the language, that is the medium. Yes. Can you see my screen? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And one good thing is that the teacher is expected to know the child psychology. because we tend to imagine, that when we teach, children have to learn. It is not like that. We have to teach the way children learn. So if there is no learning, why talk about teaching? So the government believes that if the teacher is competent, he can be a very key figure in the whole education paradigm, and the whole teaching learning process can be streamlined very well. If the teacher is resourceful, committed, competent, and has thorough knowledge of child development and pedagogy. Earlier it was child psychology and development. Now they say child development and pedagogy. So what we will do, I have 1.5 hours. I'll be taking a little more time because I have lined up good deal of content. What we will do, I won't be able to cover everything, but I will try my best to give you a bird's eye view and a worm's eye view of this particular paper. So some basic concepts will be very clear, and you will be able to understand exactly what they want from you as a teacher. Now I'll be happy to share a couple of files with you on your WhatsApp group. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover child development and education psychology, then some part of the methodologies and education thinkers. This is a core part of your syllabus. Then 5 marks questions are always asked. 100% 5 marks, 5 to 7 marks questions are always there on inclusive education. Related to learning disability and all. So we will take that topic a little deeply, and we will see the questions, past questions and expected questions. And we will have, I'll give you a question bank of 75 questions. If time permits, we will see them. Or otherwise, I will send that question bank with the answers. But we will try our best to see as much as possible. So we will go through the content quickly. You see, humans, are not static beings. When we say that we learn, no, humans are learning beings. We are essentially inquisitive. We have the urge to learn. Even if you see an infant, the infant is actually learning. Every moment is a learning moment, and we keep growing, we keep developing. So there is a teaching and learning process going on. But when the child is in infancy or early childhood or even late childhood, the process is rather informal, but the child is a sure learner, a very good learner. That means if we provide a nice learning environment to the child can learn, child can develop and grow very quickly. I'll refer to one research. That research says that if the child gets language-rich environment, the child's brain is wired better, and then the child can perform academically better. If there is language deficit, then the child's intellectual growth is immediately impacted. His memory is also impacted. That means if the child gets a proper, encouraging, emotionally secure learning environment, the child is definitely going to learn. Every child can learn. That's the teacher's confidence, that every child can learn and he can teach every child according to the child's learning needs and his situation. We know that when you talk about growth and development, it is nature also and nurture also. We will see that. So what is very important? Important is to know that there are certain fundamental patterns of growth and development. And teacher is expected to know how a child is, how a child grows, and how a child learns. मूल असतं कसं, वाढतं कसं, शिकतं कसं. These three things parents should know, but teacher is expected to know very thoroughly and scientifically. Because when you teach, there could be some barriers. You are doing your best, but the child cannot learn. Or there are some barriers, and you realize that despite your best lesson plans and everything, something is going wrong. Then you can suspect that the child has some learning difficulty or disability, all those things. But when you can diagnose this, when you understand child development and growth and psychology and all those things. So what happens when you know these things? You can create right instruction for the child. So, when you are teaching a child, you need to have some expectations, but this should be rational expectations. If you are expecting too much or beyond the child's range or ability, then the child is bound to get frustrated and will develop sense of inadequacy. These questions are asked. What will happen if too much is expected or beyond his range? This is that particular sentence. If too much is expected of children, they develop a feeling of inadequacy. On this sentence, 2-3 questions have been asked. So I will just go through very quickly because I will come to the questions, and again we will come back to this topic. Right, from the type of, yes.
So can you zoom this document a little bit? Is it possible?
Yeah, possible.
To
I
make
think.
it little larger. Yeah.
Is it? I think.
This side window on the left, right hand side, can you close that extra window?
Mm, okay. Give me a second. Give me a second. Amita, Solar. Yes, I'll just do that. I'll just do that. Give me a second. Can I close this window? This window, so that I can enlarge it a little bit.
I don't think so.
Give me a second. Okay, yeah, it is. Now I think it is little large.
Yes, sir. It is better now. Yeah.
Better now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now. So, you know that right from the time of conception to death, till ripe age, the humans are learning beings, but they go through various stages of development. And you are expected to know as teacher whether there were some problems in that growth and development, whole growth and development. Because if the child has missed certain developmental milestones, this can create problem for the child as a learner later on. It's a good idea to know the concept of growth and development. And there will be at least 2 or 3 questions on growth and development. Be very clear what you mean by growth and what you mean by development. The moment we talk about growth, we talk about the quantity. The size increases, the weight increases, there is a growth due to cell division and everything. That's a biological process. But when it comes to development, you understand it in terms of intellectual development, the qualitative development. Growth is quantity, development is quality. So here the education plays a role. And when you talk about development, of course, you understand it in terms of how the child responds to changing situation. If we try to define what is education, it could be defined variously. You can say that it's an ability to respond to changing reality. It is, realize one's potential. Good number of definitions could come. But as a growing individual, as a developing individual, getting matured, it's a good idea for the teacher to know what are the barriers which are possible, or what are the barriers which were there already, which can impact his teaching and learning, children's learning. Please understand, whatever affects your teaching and their learning has to be your concern. And it's a good idea to talk to parents at times that your child has this problem. Then if you go little deep, the parents will tell you, हाँ वो जब छोटा था तो ये problem हो गया था, वो बेहोश हो गया था, उसका ये problem था, वो problem था. Then you can connect the dots and you can get the clear picture of the child's growth and development, and then you can have a better perspective. So in your syllabus, there will be questions on growth, stages of growth. They will ask a question like, what is the period of infancy, what is the period of early childhood, late childhood, whether it is first year, second year, whatever it is. They will ask this. So it's a good idea to understand this. So when we talk about stages of growth, of course, we talk about prenatal period. Prenatal period is 9 calendar months or 40 weeks. I think somewhere this question was asked. Prenatal period is what exactly that period is. Not only that, it's a good idea to understand what are the factors which can impact prenatal period growth and development. Because say for example, if the conception has happened in an area where there is a lot of radiation or huge pollution, then the very conception is impacted adversely, which can create some neurobiological barriers for the child later on. Because the child's IQ can go down if the child is born in an area where there is huge pollution, especially the leaded petrol is used, so the child's IQ can go down. And say for example, in certain areas like Chembur, or where this RCF is there, Rashtriya Chemical Fertilizer Factory, maternity hospitals are not permitted, because if the child is born, if the child is inhaling that poisonous toxic air, then the child's brain can be very adversely and seriously damaged. It happens before the baby's birth, because when the child is in the womb, what mother inhales, the same goes and damages the infant's brain. So it is that level. So it's a good idea to understand what are these minute barriers which can happen, which can cause neurobiological damage, which can later on have a bearing on your teaching and their learning. So this thing is expected to know. Just go through this basics. Anyway, don't worry, I'll be sharing this with you. Now, postnatal growth. When a prenatal is, you can say, before birth, and postnatal is then the real game starts. This is something, when the child is born, this is what the nature has given us. That's what the child is all about. I mean, you cannot do any intervention over there. We know science has proven that all other organs are formed, but brain is work in progress. Brain continuously keeps growing, molding. There is a concept of neuroplasticity, and it's a good idea to know that when children are growing, their brain is more neuroplastic. That means the child can learn, has in fact maximum potential to learn when the neuroplasticity is very good. What is neuroplasticity? The brain has ability to change its structure according to the circumstances. Means if the brain is damaged, the other parts or the sections of the brain may take over the functions of the part that is damaged. So, and this has proven that we keep learning till the last breath. Someone got Nobel Prize at the age of 94 also. So you can continuously learn. And why it is important for teachers to know? Because it is said that 85% brain is formed in the first 6 years, 6.5 max. So that is the most important period. The best period to learn language is first 3 years. It's very amazing. The child, even in very early infancy, also can understand language, process language. That's the latest neurobiological research. But its speech organs are not properly developed. You get the point. So we can say that as teachers, we need to give as much language as possible. So vocabulary rich environment, language rich environment has to be there. You will see that parents who are first generation, or the children who are first generation learners, first time they are coming to school, no one from the family, then they will be at a serious disadvantage in compared to someone where there are highly qualified people in the family. So we can safely assume that when the brain is formed, that is the time we have to give a lot of intellectual diet. Now, while the brain is growing, it is very important for the baby to get certain vital nutrients like iron and all, zinc and magnesium and copper and all those micronutrients, because that can also impact the brain hugely. Because after 6.5 or 7 years, even if you give him truckload of those vital nutrients, it doesn't make any sense, because the brain is formed that time. So it's like use them or lose them when it comes to neurons. No, millions of neurons are there, billions of neurons in fact in a brain. If we don't, then the brain itself will prune it. That means why it is important for teachers to understand this, because if we give them good learning experiences, see, learning happens through experiences. That's why we say teaching is a series of learning experiences, controlled, well targeted, with clear objectives, assessing learning needs and everything. So you create a series of learning experiences, and if you do that in early age, the child's his brain gets wired better, the synapses are formed, and the child can become a better competent learner. Uh, it's a good idea for teachers to understand this. So when the child is in the infancy, you can see what happens here in our areas. uh, Parents get interested in education when the child is in ninth standard. The best and the most important period is, of course, the postnatal period, at least till 8 years. But that is the period parents don't generally get involved, and that has a huge cost to pay afterwards. So it's a good idea to understand that in infancy, the first year of life is infancy. Please understand, first year of life is infancy, and early childhood period is 2 to 6 years, middle childhood period is 7 to 10 years, and late childhood period is 7 to 12 years. This question was asked in CTET. What is the late adulthood childhood period? This question was asked. I have already taken it. So please understand these three things. Infancy is first year, one first year after the birth. Then 2 to 6 years is early childhood, middle childhood is 7 to 10 years, and late childhood is 7 to 12 years. Now, certain growth and development is expected to happen as it happens in a normal child. During these three phases, if there have been some problems, then the teacher should take note that okay, this child had this problem, so that is going to create some problem in my teaching and his learning. It is that important. Now, adolescence is 12 to 18 years. The stormy period, as we call it, no, Vadara Sakara Settlement. So the child is in search of identity, and when the socialization process is very fast, and the child derives his identity, values, ethics, and role models and a lot of things. And it's very intense period when the child is emotionally very intense and all those things. So this is called the stormy period. But infancy and childhood is the period when the child is expected to get ready for the future life. So school readiness and readiness to learn. And that's why certain basic competencies must be developed in this infancy, childhood. And that means first to 12 years. This period is extremely important. And teacher needs to take note of that. Because if certain things are missed out, then it's a good idea to ask why the child is behaving in a certain way, because you need to understand the child as a learner. Every time you are dealing with a learner, you are is a learning being, and you need to identify whatever barriers are encountered in his learning and your teaching. Then after 12 to 18 years, the adolescent period, then the maturity or adulthood period will come. And this growth happens because of the hormonal changes which happen in the body. So 2-3 questions. We saw the period and the need to know. We will come to that in our next file. Now, the concept of development. I said growth is physical, development is largely intellectual or cognitive, you can say. It's a wider term indicating advancement, more unfoldment. You see, you cannot rush up development. It has to be in a very systematic, in a cumulative way. You cannot expect children to learn very quickly. We try to do that. No, we try to teach them to write early, to speak early, that ABCD early, and we take pride in that. But that can be extremely damaging. In countries like the best country, if you go to the Iceland or to some other countries, you will find that they are very, very particular about the early age education. We try to send children to school very early, but they are extremely particular about that. So they don't try to rush up things. They let the child grow naturally, and the development process is not speeded up, and it is in a very comprehensive way, so that it becomes enjoyable. Otherwise, we try to create cognitive load at times on children. So that is very bad. If you see the Finland's education system, considered the best, and they take care of this. They take great care of this, that children should not be sent to school till the age of 8. That's a strict rule over there, because they want the child to develop naturally. No pressure, no competition, no exam, no comparison, no cognitive load. The child blossoms naturally. And they believe that is the very, very important period, the real foundation period. So, as I said, growth will happen. You will take care of the physical needs, food and everything. Sometimes if the child is eating a lot of junk food, its IQ can directly get impacted, because the food may not be nutritious. The brain doesn't get the necessary vital nutrients, especially iron. There have been research reports which have proven that iron intake is directly related to intellectual quotient and all. So what is very important for you as teacher is the development part. The child has come to your school, you have to accept the child unconditionally as the child is. You know that development continues from womb to tomb. That is all right. But as a teacher, you will be concerned about whether the development has happened as normally it happens. If it is not happening, then it becomes a matter of concern for you, because your teaching process might come under pressure. So development refers to both qualitative and quantitative changes. The child's memory expands, the child's knowledge expands, the child develops ability to derive knowledge out of information. His cognitive abilities will develop. So you need to observe the child as a learner, how the child learns, and initiate your instruction. So the child is a learning being. Now here you need to think of one concept. Should we teach the child, or the child should learn? Now we talk about learner-centered teaching. If you take any textbook and read the preface, that word is there, child-centered. You are a guide by side, not sage on the stage. So you have to create a positive learning environment. And now we have moved to constructivism, where you have to encourage the child to discover his or her own knowledge and construct the knowledge. Your role is to guide and create that nice positive learning environment where they will learn through their mistakes. So you become a collaborator. So instead of teaching we are coming to learning, and from learning we are coming to acquisition now. So acquisition of new skills and assimilation of more knowledge. Hmm? We will come to, if time permits, to education thinkers, and there we will see how assimilation and all those things happen, how the schemas are created when you learn, how you create a new cognitive schema and all those things. So here you realize that under the new paradigm of constructivism, your role has changed. You have to collaborate. You don't have to dictate. You don't have to just download or give it to them. They have to find it, they have to construct it, and you have to correct it. Ultimately, you have to make them self-learners. All learning is self-learning. So you have to use their senses, their inquisitiveness, their curiosity. So it's a good idea if you encourage them to become thinkers and ask questions. The new education policy expects huge pedagogical changes, that the learner will be at the center, teacher will be a guide. The learner has to be a proactive learner. That means, why I am repeating positive learning environment, because you have to get the learner engaged and involved. And a good teacher is the one whom students ask questions. That question is repeated many times, that the learning process has to be handed over to them. The learner is an autonomous learner. And we believe that the learner can learn if we create a positive learning environment and nice experiences, engaging, involving, and all those things. And the learner has to construct his or her own knowledge. That is the basic concept. So the development should happen in a collaborative way. In a collaborative way. It's not just the Pantuji system. मी सांगतो तू लिहून घे. It is not like that. And then as we are going for a new way of teaching and learning, the evaluation also has changed. It has to change. You cannot just ask rote based or memory based questions, because questioning is a hugely important part when it comes to teaching and learning. So with this background, the question comes how we can exactly develop a concept of child development. Now, the moment you are thinking of development, it has to be integrated: emotional, physical, mental, intellectual, everything. You cannot just focus on intellectual development and ignore his social development. You cannot focus on his physical development and ignore intellectual development. Development has to be integrated. Has to, you have to form him as a person. So what are the aims of child development? Very quickly, we can see that to make us aware that the child is developing normally. If the child is not developing normally because of nature or nurture, then it has to be a major concern of the teacher. Why it is not happening? You have to diagnose, you have to talk to the parents, because education is not a one-way traffic. You have got to get the family involved. There is a triangle. Always remember, the child is at the top, and at the bottom of the triangle, the family and the school. When the family and school comes closer, the child will go up. If they go far, the child will come down. As simple as that. So it's a joint venture between the school and the family. So the teacher can get some feedback on the growth and the development part, because before the child came to the school, a lot of things could have gone wrong. So when you get the knowledge of child development, it enables us to identify a child who for some reason may not following the normative stages, that something is wrong. You get the point, and you get a clear picture of how the child has developed. If you have taught a child till 7th standard, you know how the child was from 1st standard till 7th standard. You can develop a whole picture, and you can even look deep into the future and guide the child or his caretakers that the child is like this. He has grown up like this. He's learning like this. He's this type of learner. His learning style and everything. And this is how he can go ahead. You have a very informed comment to make, because you have taught the child. To enable us to look forward to respond to age-related behavior, if there are any anomalies or any problems related to that, because that can impact your teaching. Consider the fact that every child is different. Now, every learner is different. Every learner learns differently. Every learner has different learning needs. So we have to first assess the learning needs. Then the teaching objectives will be arrived. You cannot arrive at your teaching objectives unless you have understood the learner completely, his learnability, his learner readiness, physical, mental, emotional, social, and all those things. Then what are the barriers in that? And then only you will create your instruction. Now, it's very difficult to find homogeneous classroom, because learners come from various socio-economic background, cultural background. and learners have their own experiences. So they have their own fears, their fancies, their their weaknesses, and they're mindful of that. Sometimes they don't get involved. If a child has come from right affected areas, then you cannot expect the child to what you can say to behave in a normal way. So the teacher has to take note of these small things. That's why I said anything that impacts your teaching and their learning has to be your concern. So some key points to pick up from this: as a teacher, it helps you become aware uh, uh, that the child has developed normally, or whether the child had some problems in the child's upbringing. So every stage you expect age and stage appropriate behavior, age and stage appropriate intellectual growth. Then if that is not happening despite your best efforts, then you can try out something else. So you can initiate some measures, like you can refer the child to diagnostic test for to assess whether the child has any learning disability, difficulty, whatever. Now, when we talk about development, of course, we'll talk about the physical development, correct? When it comes to physical development, his psychomotor abilities, age and stage appropriate. If the physical growth is not appropriate age and stage, it can create problems for the child's learning. Then there is cognitive development. Cognitive development is largely related to intellectual development, you can say, largely memory, language, reasoning, problem solving, overall intellectual growth. If you feel that the child is lagging, then you can talk to the parents, and then you can understand why this is happening. Because being all things equal, the child is expected to perform like normal students, but still, if the child is, though the potential is there, the child is potentially intelligent but still academically falling in achievement scale, then you can say that well, the child might have some disability. So you start inquiring accordingly, because your role is to make every child successful, and no child should be left behind. That's the basic fundamental, that every child has to be given the best possible learning opportunity according to whatever the nature has given him, and the child should have all possible opportunities to realize his or her own potential. Then the personality development, so physical, cognitive, and personality development. Then social development, because the child is going to live in a society. Your classroom is a microcosm of the society, the nation tomorrow. So you have to just not prepare him for board examination. You have to prepare him for the social life, intellectual life, and that's why we talk about integrated development. Now, you are expected to know in your syllabus principles of child development. Development proceeds from top to bottom. Cephalocaudal principle. One or two questions have always been asked on this particular point. From top to bottom. Then proceeds from center to outward of the body. Proximo-distal principle. They will ask you question like this. Development proceeds from center to outward, is considered as, and then that is proximo-distal development. If you go to the questions, you will find this type of questions. Development depends upon maturation and learning. Now, what is maturation? If they ask you, maturation refers to 4 options. Characteristics of biological growth and development. When you look at a child, you expect certain level of maturity as a learner, as a social being. And if that maturity is missing, then you say that there are some problems in his growth and development. इसके कारण ये बच्चा ऐसे बर्ताव करता है. There is some deficit in his maturation. That can impact learning. Maturation can definitely impact learning. So you are expected to understand this aspects of the learner, because it can create problems for your teaching process. So the biological changes occur in sequential orders. Further nervous system will develop, then the thinking will develop, how the motor skills develop. There is a sequence you can find out. The child will first learn to, wobble, then walk, then run. You cannot expect the child to run first and then do it, then start walking. It's not going to happen. So you understand how, the moment you look at a baby, you understand, oh, this is how, oh, 6 महिन्याचा झाला, 1 वर्षाचा झाला, 2 वर्षाचा झाला. Then you can understand how the child is going to grow. Oh, he will start walking, he will fall down, and everything becomes clear to us. And here, the child's environment will play a very critical role. A very critical role. If the child has traumatic childhood, then the brain is not properly formed. I can show you videos if need be. How the traumatic childhood actually impacts the formation of synapses and everything, and how the child born very, very good in terms of potential will lag behind because the brain is adversely impacted. So brain is an organ of learning. Always remember, brain is an organ of learning. Like it's a muscle, like learning muscle. If you use it more systematically in a very positive way, it will develop the capacity more. So we talk about last decade is called brain-based decade. No, we talk about brain-based education. And when we learn what happens in the brain, the synapses are formed and all those things. So you have to understand learning, and not only the physical, social, intellectual, but even at the neurobiological level now. It's a good idea for teacher to understand what happens in the brain of the children. So, why it is important when you give awards or rewards, the children feel good, they feel happy, means dopamine secretes more in the brain. So that there is happy feelings, and then children learn more. If the children are stressed and all, then you will find that the learning doesn't happen. They will forget, they won't be able to concentrate if they are emotionally threatened and all. So if you understand how neurotransmitters also impact learning, means earlier we used to think of only behavioral change, then we started thinking in terms of cognitive change. Now we started thinking in terms of constructivism, learner learns and all those things. And you don't have to teach, he has to learn all those things. And now we learn what happens in the brain when the child learns. If this awareness is there, this growth and development awareness is there, the teacher can become an effective teacher. The teacher can help children break the barriers in learning and teaching process. So a learning relationship, because don't forget one thing, when you teach, it's a very cognitive relationship. Teaching is very cognitive activity. It's a relationship based activity. It's not just robotic. That's why only 15% learning has happened online. In some cases only 7%, because we as humans, our brains are wired to learn from humans only, not from machines. This online learning and machine learning and all these things, these are for advanced learners, not for children. They need human company. They need that interaction, that osmosis, I would say, that will make learning happen. So you cannot expect children, first standard children, to learn online. That is all nonsense, because our brain is not wired like that to learn since evolution. So here we realize that as a teacher, you have to be with the children, understand every child, find out the barriers, create instruction according to their learning needs, and all those things. This will happen when you understand this growth and development properly. Growth and development proceeds from general to specific. That is another principle. And one thing, growth and development is a continuous process. It always happens. You cannot stop children from learning. They are continuously learning. They are looking, they are observing. The learning is continuously happening. The brain is getting wired. But then there is one thing. Millions of billions of trillions of neurons are there. They are created thousands every minute, but if you don't use them, the brain itself will prune them. So that's why we said it's use them or lose them. That's why if you give more and more learning experiences, stress free, if you make education enjoyable, then children will learn better. Why education, when made enjoyable, learners learn better? Because there is no stress, there is no competition, they learn naturally. So that's the natural way of learning. So it is a continuous process. You cannot stop it. Growth and development proceeds from general to specific. Means you see how an infant learns to hold anything. If you give him grain, it will try to pick up, and then slowly its motor skills will develop. Then they will use thumb and finger first, and then they will start using the all other fingers and all. So you can understand how the muscular development is happening, and how they are going from general to specific. They can look at it and then start holding it and gripping the object in a very right way. So from general to specific, there could be a question on this growth and development proceed from. There will be 4 options, and you need to identify the right one, general to specific. Now, it is very important to understand that individuals' rates of growth and development can vary. Some children learn very quickly, some will take time. Some that doesn't mean they are slow learner as such. Everyone has one's own way of learning, one's own what is style of learning. Someone could be oral learners, some are visual learners, some are bodily kinesthetic learners. So everyone learns in a different way. As a teacher, it's a good idea to take note of the child's learning style. And the growth and development rates can vary, because they again depend upon the external circumstances. It's not always nature, it is nurture also. The environment plays a huge role. The development can be predicted. Um, Generally, we understand that when you talk about fifth standard child, you expect the child to have developed his physical, emotional, intellectual, social, cognitive abilities to a certain level. If they are not age and stage appropriate, then your antenna is always up. Something is wrong somewhere. You get the point. So you can predict that the next stage should be like this. But if it is not happening, then that becomes a matter of concern. Development is interrelated, means there are various stages of development as physical, mental, and all. So they reinforce each other. They see, say for example, if the child has low self-esteem, or lack of confidence, the child may not take part in the learning process like a normal child. Then the deficit will keep growing. The child will be marginalized. Why it is happening? The child has all the ability to learn naturally, but there are some emotional or other barriers. You need to address them first. If you don't remove the barriers, your best lesson plan will not deliver any result. You have to understand the learner at the learner's level. Understanding of principles of development does help us to plan appropriate activities and stimulating, enriching experiences for children, and provides a basis for understanding how to encourage and support children's learning. So what happens when you know the principles of growth and development? You can help learner become better learners. In short, in short, this. Now, other principles of growth and development. Growth in some direction is inevitable. You can always see that it is happening. They are growing. You can easily predict. That is, mental growth is dependent upon chain structure. What does it mean? It means that if there is no new learning experience, or a varied learning experience, the child will not be able to respond to the changing situation. Then you get the point. So the child has egocentric, then social centric behavior. If you have studied psychology, you will understand the ego part, how the child develops the sense of self and all those things. Growth is a creative process. Hereditary sets limits for development in terms of potential. Now please understand, you are a great teacher doesn't mean you can always change the reality of the child. If the child is born with a damaged brain, or some neurobiological issues, there are limits to what you can do for the child. Then the experts will take care of that. But there is always the limit that the nature has given. So that limit you have to accept. That's the potential the child is born with. What will happen to that potential is the teacher's concern, or the school's concern, and the family's concern. It has to be the concern of all. So be clear that you are a great teacher doesn't mean you can perform miracles. No, within your definite boundary line that the nature has drawn for the child, you have to accept the child unconditionally and do whatever best is possible for the child. So different aspects of growth and development, as we have seen that development happens, or growth happens at different rates. Someone's height will increase, so someone will learn some subjects very quickly. Some are, you will see that they are learning very slow. They are slow. Does that mean they are slow learners, or you can directly come to a conclusion ki te gati mand hai, mati mand hai? There are certain specific tests. That's something very different. But your role is to identify why they are so. What are the barriers? Growth is characterized by fluctuations. Sometimes they stagnate, sometimes they again start doing. Sometimes you will find that the children were stammering. After some time the stammering has reduced and they have become normal. All those things happen. So correlation and not compensation is the rule of development. Development usually proceeds at the rate at which it started. That's very, very important for you to understand. It's a lifelong process. Early development is more critical and later development. I think one question was asked on it. Why it is so? Because the die is getting cast. The very die is getting cast. We say child is father of the man. The reason is this. You can easily understand. बाळाचे पाय पाळण्यात दिसतात आपण बोलतो. पण त्या पाळण्यातच जर त्याला चांगलं दिलं, then the child can definitely do better as an adult. The die is cast, so we have got to take care of that. So infancy to childhood, each individual has his own rate of growth. Even in twins, you will find that someone is learning quickly, someone is not learning that quickly. But you have to accept it. That is how he is. That's how the nature has made him. But we will try our best to create instruction or teaching in such a way that it becomes normal to the extent possible. So pattern of growth is continuous and gradual. Now, when it comes to influence of my side. Hereditary and environment. This is a definite question that is asked. Nature versus nurture debate. A question will be asked. We will see that question based on this particular topic. We have seen that when the child comes to the school, the child is already there. You cannot go back to its conception and make necessary changes. Not possible. You have to accept the child as the child is unconditional and see what best could be done. So hereditary versus environment, the genetic part. But every time it's not genes. Say for example, if you create positive learning environment, language rich environment, very stimulating learning environment, then the child will definitely perform better. This is not the genetic part, it is the external part, the environmental part. So that is at least we control. So no matter what the genes have given us, still a lot of things could be done. So that has to be properly understood, that the physical makeup, the color of the eyes, everything the child will inherit from the parents, but what will happen to whatever intelligence the child has got is decided in the school. Environment influencing development. We saw that environment influence from womb to tomb. The moment the child takes its first breath, the impact starts. You can understand, if you understand the child has come from Melghat, for example, where there is a lot of malnutrition, no nutrition food and all, then you can safely conclude that the children's IQ will be on the lower side, because the physical development has impacted. The crucial period when the brain was formed, they did not get the necessary vital nutrients and all those things. So you can safely conclude that environment must have impacted their brain very heavily. Where there is a lot of noisy environment, a lot of light, then a lot of disturbances, a lot of radiation, a lot of chemical fumes all around, a lot of toxic pollution, then the child's IQ is definitely going to be impacted. You can safely conclude, because it is the child is the product of his its own environment, and the child is not in a position to make choices over here. So sometimes they will feel that the child is physically stagnating, not growing. Maybe the problems are in the development. So as the child is physically stagnating, chances are that the child will stagnate intellectually also, cognitively also. Malnourishment can create unhygienic conditions. If the child is coming from slums, then you can expect the child will have certain problems which are because of the external environment. And that external environment must have created complexities when it comes to the child's conception and growth and everything. To give an example, in some areas in Vasai where there is a lot of pollution, I mean, lot of use of pesticides in the coastal areas, you will find that the children's IQ is considerably low. They have problems remembering things and all. It is because the pregnant women inhale the same toxic fumes, the pesticides and everything, especially in the coastal region you will find. And then of course the newborn's brain is always impacted. So how external reality will create that particular impact, that has to be a matter of concern, and public education also. So learning is an extent. Learning depends upon maturation. How you will understand this? A child can learn a thing better only when he reaches a certain maturational stage. You cannot expect writing an essay from second standard child, or writing a letter to the municipal commissioner from first standard child. You are expected to have a certain level of maturation in terms of physical awareness, or cognitive maturation has to be there. We understand that from first to fifth 5 years, child can learn language better because the stimulus response function is better. So certain things happen better in certain period, and if that developmental milestone or that window of opportunity is missed, then the child will have problems. Then you realize, oh, हे त्याचं त्या पिरियड मध्ये ये उस वक्त होना चाहिए था, उस ग्रोथ के फेज में इसको ये नहीं मिला, इसके कारण ये problem हो गया. If a child is taught a behavior before the critical time, then the child will get confused. You expect the child to be child only. You can't expect a 5-year-old boy to behave like a 20-year-old mature being. No. And if the 20-year-old is behaving like 5-year-old, then still you will say this is something very wrong. So you expect certain maturity and learnability. If the maturity is not there, then you have to understand that and do corrections over there before you go to your teaching part. Then physical growth, how physical growth will definitely impact. Special features during infancy, rapid growth and development, dependence, self-assertion, then a period of make-believe. ये उसके growth के phase रहते हैं where the boy is actually formed. When the boy is formed, of course the man is formed. So muscular development कैसे होती है, उसके motor skills कैसे develop होते हैं, the sexual development है, and how the physical growth decides the whole development, and which whole growth which impacts development. Growth will impact development. Development in turn will to a great extent impact growth also. So they are mutually self-reinforcing. Educational significance of implications of physical growth. You see, you cannot just, if you read that sentence, you will find that you cannot say that it has to be only intellectual. You cannot compartmentalize. That's why we talked about integrated development. When the child comes to us, the child develops in an integral way: physical, mental, emotional, social, cognitive, moral, ethical. He has to become a well-formed person. That's why Vivekanand talked about education as man-making process. He has to be made into an integral person, physical, mental, everything. You just cannot focus only on his vocational development and ignore his social development. CET, NEET may maximum marks lao, and you ignore other aspects, then the child will end up paying cost later on. He will become emotionally insecure. His relationship will be an issue, and all those things, because we focused on one particular part. So that holistic development has to happen. The man-making process has to happen very clearly. So when you are teaching a primary child, when you are teaching a secondary grade child, you are expected to have the clear understanding what to expect at what stage, and to what extent. Because we have seen, if we ignore it and if we are hard and fast on demanding certain performance, to ye चीज का है तुम्हें आना चाहिए, the child is confused because the child has missed a lot. If you see Jilla Parishad schools where the children come from very adverse conditions, and if the same children are made to learn with a very good school where the children got the best of the best, the children are bound to be on the back seat. They will take fright. They will not get involved because they are aware of their inadequacies immediately. And why these inadequacies have happened? Because of the nature and nurture, but the nurture part more. If the children had been given the same environment that better schools parents could give, then they also would have developed to that extent. They would have been equally good. So equally good is always possible, but if the environment is creating problem, then that happens. So it's a good idea for teacher to understand how growth and development impacts teaching and learning. If the physical development is problem, then the child can have some psychological issues that they are stagnating, they are not growing, that the child develops inferiority complex if his physical growth is not appropriate. Say for example, his child is not getting certain physical development in terms of mustache or all those things, then children will make fun of that child, and it emotionally is a big trauma for the child. Now, emotional development, when the child learns, of course, emotions are energy. Emotions and feelings, they decide a lot in terms of our behavior. And the behavior anyway impacts teaching and learning. So, of course, teaching. So, emotion connects the mental and physical activities of man together. How we will respond, how we will behave in a certain circumstances, largely depends upon our emotional makeup. And these emotions are acquired at times. These emotions come from the external environment. If the parents are not good, they don't have good terms, or they don't have very loving, caring, sharing relationship, then the child's emotional growth is, of course, going to be in trouble. If the child has very loving, caring, sharing, and very nice parents, then the child will have positive outlook, better self-esteem, better anger management, more self-confidence, more involvement, more more inquisitiveness, positiveness about everything. But if the child has traumatic childhood, the child will be always on the guard, or in a very withdrawn manner, will not be taking part. So suddenly, if you see that Sangeeta's performance is going down in the class, she has become silent, she is not talking more, she is withdrawn, that has to be a matter of concern, because something is wrong, her emotional world is troubled, it is bound to impact her learning and your teaching. So emotions during childhood: anger, fear, jealousy, affection, the need for recognition, approval, lot of this, no, identity, these things are always there. The children don't expect you to give them the best toy, but they want you to appreciate them, talk nicely about them, and cuddle them, and all that. That is their emotional need. And what is the educational significance of emotional growth? If the child thinks himself insecure, then his concentration will suffer. The child would like to avoid contact, even eye contact, would not like to take part. The child will always like to stand behind someone, would not like to, come in front. Lot of things. An emotionally secure child is always confident child, and then the child is a better learner. So emotional security is very important. That's why the teacher has to understand this, and encourage children to make mistakes, learn from mistakes, give opportunity to every learner, and be emotionally empathetic, sympathetic, so that emotionally secured environment is created in the class. Then the learners will learn better. You get the point? Because if the children have wrong, or instead of regret, if they have guilt for that matter, then a wrong choice of emotion, then it can definitely impact their overall learning performance. So how low learning is correlated to development, is this question is something that teacher has to be concerned about. Learning means to gain knowledge, understanding, and skills, and not in the short term, but they should remain with him. This whatever skills, understanding, awareness, knowledge, information the child has acquired, acquired and not just learned, should remain with him. If they are not, then it's a very problematic learning process. Any permanent change is behavior that occurs as a result of practice. So learning is defined in various ways. Permanent change in behavior, physical development. When we talk about areas of learning and development, we talk about physical development, knowledge and understanding of the world, communication, language and literacy, personal, social and emotional development, problem solving, reasoning, all those things, creativity and all. So integrated development, holistic development. Now, it is very important here to understand some children are gifted children. They learn very quickly. They have higher learning abilities. At times, it can be a positive thing. At times, it can be a big barrier also for the teacher and for the learner also. We will see that in learning disability part. Body grows, but mind develops. Never forget. A warm, welcoming, and encouraging approach is necessary in child education, not only in the family but in school also. If it is not in the family, the teacher has to do something about it. A child-centered, activity-based approach, activity-based because it gets children's involvement and engagement, is necessary at the primary stage. You cannot use lecture method in school. You don't use. You teach them. Lecture is when they are self-learners, when they go to college. You expect that maturity. So teaching is dependent on the maturity the children have attained, because their learner readiness, their involvement and everything depends upon their maturity. Again, maturity depends upon growth and development. So how everything is connected. So when a child comes to you, you have to understand the child in terms of his growth and development and integrated development. And when you teach, as you go on teaching, you understand that the child is encountering some barriers, some problems, and then you have to go back to their growth and development and maturity and everything, to understand the learner as a learner and remove the barriers. If the child has learning disability, you will not be able to remove it completely, but you can manage it, you can reduce its intensity and all those things, so the child becomes successful. Now, education is the panacea. We have to recreate the society, reconstruct the society, reorganize the society, and realize the potential, converting human potential into human performance. That happens in the school. That doesn't happen in the university. It should start in the school, because if you fail in the school, we cannot succeed anywhere. No university can make us successful if you have failed in the school. And it is the teacher, the linchpin, the bedrock of all this development, has to play a role that goes beyond curriculum, teaching, and taking exams and certifying and all. You have to go to the learner's level, understand the learner as a learner, remove the problems, because you are preparing the child for not for any examination, but for life. That's how we have the concept of lifelong learning. Okay, now I'll come to this education psychology. So this anyway, I'm giving you. Uh, can you see this education psychology and pedagogical theory? Is it
Yes.
visible? Yeah.
Sir, we will,
So
sir, can we have some questions in between now, or means
after this, I'll take
MCQs?
question part.
MCQs
After
will you
this,
show?
yeah, after this, I'll take the question part. Little content
Okay.
left over, and
Okay.
then we will do it. It is just hardly 4 pages. You see, human behavior is controlled by human mind, and behavior is based on experiences which can change behavior. So when you teach, you realize that some behavior modification should happen in case of Raju, Sanju, Prakash, or Amita, whatever. Then you realize that wrong behavior is becoming an obstacle in your teaching and the child's learning. But how the behavior is formed? Behavior is formed because of the experiences that we get. And just not it's not just the motor, but it's the cognitive part. We are the product of what we experience. So the ability to think independently and clearly are some indications of intellectual behavior. Whom you will call an intellectual person? Someone who can think independently, someone who can take decisions independently, someone who can respond to changing reality. Then you say the chap is independent or intellectual. That's one marker on an or symbol that the person is intellectual. That should be able to analyze the situation and take independent judgments and decisions, which are good for him and for others also. So what happens when you teach? You are expected to understand behavior of children, why they behave the way they behave, and how you can utilize it in your teaching. So that comes largely under education psychology, because psychology will generally study human mind, behavior, the why and the how and everything of that. So if a teacher understands education psychology, then the teacher will be able to understand the behavior, and it can help him utilize that understanding in initiating a nice learning teaching process. So it is necessary for the teachers to study psychology. They would like to know whether you understand this particular concept. uh, a teacher's role is primarily to motivate learning. Yeah, you are just not making learning teaching process available. You motivate the learners to learn. So here the teacher becomes an agent, and education psychology will help teacher understand the learning behavior. This is very important: learning behavior of the children, and how it is formed, what are the barriers, and how to change that learning behavior so that learning will be more effective, so that teaching can be complemented in the right way. So it is very, very important to understand teacher's role as a motivator. Teaching is what motivates learning. This is a key sentence. Teaching is what motivates learning. So the learning happens, and the children learn on their own. They are motivated to learn. But it has to be enjoyable, it has to be participatory, it has to be engaging, and all those things. Child-centered, in short. The actions undertaken by teachers to cause learning is called teaching. It is a very nice definition of teaching. Learning and teaching are related to psychology because there is behavioral change involved. So knowledge of education psychology will help teacher understand how the teaching learning process should happen. Because ultimately, as Skinner, the behavioralist, talk in terms of change in behavior. Hmm? So psychology is the science of behavior. Freud said that. How we understand learners as minds. So the Skinner would say the branch of psychology that deals with learning and teaching is education psychology. These are the definitions. Why teachers should study education psychology? What are the reasons? To achieve the goals of education, to understand the children and hereditary features, to teach according to individual differences. That's very, very important. You cannot create one instruction for all and assume that learning will happen, because everyone learns in a different way. Everyone is product of his specific learning environment, the nature and nurture and all. So you need to understand various stages of development that will help you understand the learner. The children's such a liking, abilities, inclination, interest, because that will decide the frame whether the child is interested. If you know that what is the prime interest of the child, and if you utilize the antenna up ho jayega, the child will be willing to get involved more. If Raju is more interested in sports, and if you utilize something related to sport examples and all, he will be more participative. to develop the latent potential of children, to improve his teaching and thus children's learning. So if you know the psychology, improve your teaching and their learning for integrated development. Now, when you talk about features of learning, it is of course a lifelong process. Every experience teaches something. Lasting changes in behavior is what one definition of learning. Learning for survival. Do not learn in the same way and learning of all. Please understand, every learner will learn differently at a varying pace, because that's how the child is born with that particular potential. Uh, Learning is forgotten if not practiced. So repetition has to be there. It's a slow process which you cannot speed up. It is cognitive and insight based. That's when sometimes you can turn the searchlight inwards and find out when you have learned something actually, what exactly happened in your brain, in your behavior, and then you'll develop an insight into your own learning style and process. One, learning is useful in learning higher. See, today's language will help the child to acquire the next language. Learning is transferable. Acquisition of new concepts is learning. So nature of learning process, it is goal-based, motivation, exploration, modification. These are the things which are related to the learning process. Intelligence is the capacity to acquire knowledge and skills, analyze information and derive knowledge, think independently and make right choices to respond to changing situations. That is what intelligence is generally considered. Innate cognitive ability. Now it is important, there will be at least 4 to 5 questions on intelligence itself. If you see the question paper, you will find that there will be questions on how many types of intelligences Guilford found, who developed intelligent test, and a lot of other things, the Wechsler scale, then Binet's intellectual test and all. So you need to know the basic formula and all those things. I'll quickly go through this. Teachers increase intelligence and psychologists measure it. Teachers, he said that a teachers increase intelligence, psychologists measure it. So if you see this, you will find this particular definition you need to know, this aspect you need to know. Spearman's intelligence is a combination of 2 factors. So what is 2-factor theory, or who gave 2-factor theory? Questions could be like this. So Thurston developed it further. Multi-factor theory is given by whom, and what are the aspects of multi-factor theory? They will give you 4, 5, and one more will be asked. So Guilford found 120 factors of intelligence. This type of material will be asked. Then the Binet's formula, IQ formula, it is asked many times. Mental age divided by chronological age into 100. This formula is always asked. MA stands for what? You need to know its mental age and chronological age. So they can give you that a child's mental age is this and chronological age is this. So what will be the intelligent quotient? So you have to do little bit of math and find it out. 100%, 1 or 2 questions on Howard Gardner. Always you will find multiple intelligence, 1 or 2 questions always there. His theory is intelligence in multiple. बुद्धिमत्ता मुलं उपजत बुद्धिमत्ता असते, ती काय अनुवंशिक नसते. Means you are born as a human, you will have no 0 IQ, you will be naturally intelligent, and you will have variety of intelligences. We generally think intelligence means science and math. It is not like that. He talked about 8 intelligences. You need to know all these 8. Verbal intelligence and all those things. If you know, then you can guide the child to make career choice also. Verbal, linguistic intelligence, musical, logical, mathematical, visual, spatial, bodily, kinesthetic, interpersonal, interpersonal, and naturalistic. So when you are helping children derive their own knowledge, if you use Howard Gardner's theory or multiple intelligence in your teaching, you can create better learning experiences and cater to the learner's individual learning style and needs. Then Daniel Goleman gave the concept of emotional intelligence. There could be a question on this. What is EQ? Who gave it? What is the basis of it? And how you recognize your own emotions, handle your own emotions, and respond to other people's emotions. Because even highly qualified person can behave stupid at times. So he wrote that book, Emotional Intelligence. The book that Howard Gardner wrote was Frames of Mind in 1985. This question was asked, the name of the book also. Now let's go to the maximum of teaching very quickly. We go from concrete to abstract, from general to specific, particular to general, from known to unknown, from indefinite to definite, from simple to complex, simple to difficult, whole to part, part to whole, from analysis to synthesis, and synthesis to analysis, and follow nature. These are the maximum of teaching. You are expected to know this. What is theory? It is a scientific inquiry into what and why something happens. Now, associated behavior, who gave associated behavior concept? Thorndike, Pavlov, and Skinner. Cognitive, Kohler, Asubel, and Brunner. I hope you all know this. Associative theory, trial and error theory. Who gave it? Thorndike. Experience. What was his experiment? Cat in the box with liver. So who gave you? There could be a question like this. Who gave trial and error theory? Then you need to know Thorndike. No? It is associative theory. When there is association between stimulus and response, learning takes place. According to whom? Then you should say Thorndike. Human behavior could be explained by functioning of nervous system. That is Thorndike's theory. And what are the features? Emphasis should be on action, focus on practice, success through effort, clear goals, movement to explore, learning by errors, all these things, enjoyable learning and all. Who worked on this? This is basically the work by Thorndike on these people. 3 laws of Thorndike you are expected to know. This is I won't, I will just go through very quickly. Law of readiness, 3 laws. Of course, you must have studied in your D.Ed and B.Ed. Law of practice and law of effect. So 3 laws of Thorndike. 2 will be given. Third one you find out from the options. And everyone, law of readiness, maturity is necessary for learning. Law of practice, practice retain, no repetition will, solve the problem of forgetting. Law of effect, positive outcomes reinforce learning and negative discourage. Teacher is expected to know this. Then what are the limitations and all, and its education importance. So what Thorndike has said, understand its educational importance. What Paulo says, understand education importance. What Skinner says, his work, key points, and how it impacted the teaching. You get the point. Its importance and these things you are expected to know. I'll share these files with you. Bandura gave social learning wherein behavior is acquired through modeling. Who gave this? So Albert Bandura, you are expected to know what he has done and how it is relevant for your teaching and learning process. So this one particular aspect you need to know. Now what I'll do, as Madam said, I'll come to the question part. But before that, I'll just very quickly, 5 marks questions surely come. Just very quickly, I will go through the inclusive education. 5 marks questions are always asked. If you see the syllabus, they have clearly mentioned विशिष्ट क्षमता गरजा असणाऱ्या विद्यार्थ्यांच्या क्षमता असणाऱ्या विद्यार्थ्यांना कसं शिकवाल. How you will teach children with different needs, special needs, and all those things. Because you have to create what we call inclusive classroom. Every child has to become successful. Constitution gives us a vision of give the opportunity to realize one's potential and all those things. We the people of India, and that preamble, if you read, that means education has to create the possibility of opportunity. So that happens in the school. So if the children have some problems because of their genes or whatever, you have to do something in the school itself. You cannot marginalize, you cannot ignore. And fundamental right to education is now fundamental right, means the children must be in school. No one can deprive them of education, even their parents. Within 1 kilometer, they should be given schools. From till the age of 14, they must be in school. That is Right to Education Act. And as it is Right to Education Act, children with learning disability, disorder, whatever, they must be also given equal opportunity to learn. So what are the learning disability children will have? Definitely 5 mark questions are going to come on this. Dyslexia related to reading difficulty. Dyscalculia related to math problem, working with numbers. Okay. And understanding time, using money, they have problems. Dysgraphia related to writing. Handwriting, spelling, organization of ideas is dysgraphia. Dyspraxia is sensory integration disorder. They have difficulty with motor skills and eye-hand coordination and all those things. Balance and left and right and manual dexterity they don't have. Dysphasia and aphasia related to language processing, you can say. They have a problem related to spoken language and poor reading comprehension. So this is that particular disorder. Auditory processing disorder is also there. Difficulty hearing differences between sounds and problems with reading comprehension language. And visual processing. Sometimes they have auditory perception problem, visual perception problem, and all those things. Difficulty in interpreting visual information, problems with reading map, they cannot read maps and all. Then you see that some visual related problem is there. Then they have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Sometimes there is only attention deficit, or they are hyperactivity, or both. So why a teacher is expected to know this? Because you will have children from every type of child, and you realize that Raju is not performing well, you are doing your best and everything. And then you can diagnose that Raju, there is a pattern in his work or his behavior and all. And then you can understand that Raju has reading related problems, writing related problems, number related problems, language processing problem, video or auditory, or attention deficit. He cannot sustain his attention on one particular activity for some time. Then then it becomes difficult for him. So dyslexia is reading disorder. Now, what are the characteristics? I have already given. Anyway, I'm going to give you this note, so I won't dwell deep on that. Dysgraphia related to written expression can appear in spelling, poor handwriting, putting thoughts on paper. See, the child that has dyslexia will not like to read. If the child will try to avoid reading or will start crying, as simple as that. And some children's handwriting, you try your best, won't, वो ऊपर जाता है, नीचे जाता है, letters are missed, and lot of problems. That is dysgraphia. So you are expected to know these things. I will be sharing these notes with you. What I'll do, dyscalculia, important points are given. Dyspraxia are also given. So you directly go what parents can do, because your role here becomes the role of a counselor. You have to get help of the family, because parents might misinterpret it as gati manda, or slow learner, or they may say the child is retarded. But it is, first you need to know whether it is difficulty or disability. And some basic remediation you should be able to do in the class. Now questions will be on whether you understand what type of problem, can you name it, it is related to reading, what are the symptoms and all, and what you can do in the class. For every disability, how to basic identification and basic remediation in the classroom situation, or some actions should be initiated from your side. Now you need to know why it happens, what could be the causes, how you will counsel the parents, and how you will help your child still perform better. These are the barriers, but how you will minimize the barriers. I'll be giving this file with you, file to you, so I won't waste my time over here. What I'll do, I'll directly come to the questions. These questions, if you do, you will be able to get 5 out of 5 marks. These many questions. So we will start doing it. Dyslexia is associated mainly with difficulties in, can anyone tell me? We just saw dyslexia is related to, can anyone tell me? Is it visible?
Reading.
Yes, it is related.
Reading.
Learning disabilities,
Reading.
motor skill. These are the past questions. Please understand. These questions have been asked. It is related to dyspraxia. Learning disabilities may occur due to all of the following except June 29 में सवाल पूछा था. Tell me. Emotional disturbance से हो सकती है, cerebral dysfunction से हो सकती है, behavioral distress या cultural factors. Except, I think the answer should be D, cultural factors. I expect you to give answers. A child with normal intelligence shows difficulty in reading and comprehending language. It indicates that the child is showing symptoms of reading and comprehending languages, of course, dyslexia. Related to writing is dysgraphia. Calculations and related numbers related to dysgraphia. Definitely 5-mark questions. You check any paper, you will find questions on this. A disorder related to language comprehension is language comprehension say related. We saw aphasia is related to language comprehension. Learning disabilities in mathematics can be addressed, can be assessed most appropriately by which of the following tests? Aptitude test, we take aptitude test to find the career interest. Diagnostic test, we will keep it possible. Screening test and achievement test are irrelevant. The answer has to be diagnostic.
Aptitude.
No, not aptitude. It is diagnostic test. There are certain tests to assess whether the child, like a wide rating achievement test, RAT test is there. Then your RAT 1, 2, 3 tests are there. So they can help the teacher identify whether there are certain problems. If you go to RCI website, you will find a lot of details on this. And how you can actually do some basic remediation. We used to conduct teacher training workshops, so we used to guide them exactly how you can identify and do some basic remediation. So there has to be a proper diagnostics. If you find that, and if you are confident that the child has dyslexia, then what next to do? What next you will do? The best thing is to talk to the principal, and the principal will give a letter and will send the child to the parents to. Why am I not reverberating? Will go to KM Nair or hospital where the tests are formally done, and only their report is accepted by the board, because the SSC board will give them some special facilities and concession. They can take a ride.
Sir, your voice cannot be heard properly.
Yeah, my voice is cracking. I don't know why suddenly it happened. Just hold on.
Angela ma'am needs to mute herself. Angela ma'am needs to mute herself. Yeah.
Okay,
Done.
that is why. That is why. Okay, okay. Now it is clear.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
So please understand, a question was asked, if you have a learning disability child, what you will do? You will try your best to help, but if it is confirmed, you will ask for intervention from the family. You will ask the principal to give a letter, and the child is sent for formal testing done by these three hospitals. Then the certification, the board will accept to give writer and all those things. So the child will get certain facilities. A child cannot distinguish between saw and was, nuclear and unclear. तो इसका problem क्या है? ये कौन सा problem है इसका? It is dyslexia. Dyslexia. Orthopedically impaired children are likely to have, means their tandem is a problem. You know, their hand is stiff, the fingers are not properly developed. Then they are going to have problem with dysgraphia related to writing. They will, you know, sometimes they write with force, and from the backside it is, they are slow writers, their hand doesn't move, their fingers are stiff. Then they will have dysgraphic related problems. There is difference between learning disability and learning difficulties. Is this statement true? Now, the child's tables were not fine, so he mastered the tables. Now his mathematical calculation performance has increased. That was difficulty. But disability is something that is neurobiological. You know, something is wrong in the brain itself, and that problem will not go away. But you can reduce its intensity, you can manage it. A lot of people have dyscalculia. A lot of people have dysgraphia. Eminent people. Amitabh Bachchan has dyscalculia. So when it comes to calculation, even basic calculations, he will fear. But he will keep speaking for hours. So he has that disability, and he admits it openly. A lot of great people have had these disabilities, but still they made it big. Nash had the great mathematician. He was autist, but he got Nobel Prize in maths. They could be exceptionally intelligent in something. Nature will compensate this way or that way. But it's a good idea to understand the disability, identify and do some basic remediation in the classroom, because that can be a barrier for his learning and your teaching. So as a teacher, you are the only resourceful person. You are expected to play some role. You just cannot ignore the child. So what do you think? Learning disability and difficulties, is this statement true? Yes, there is definite difference between them. D is the right answer. You should know whether it is difficulty or disability. If it is difficulty, try your best to remove it, and you are considering it as a disability. It is a disability and you are thinking it is difficulty. You are again creating problem for the child. You need to have that clarity, because 3 to 4% children are always going to have, out of 100, these learning disabilities. Girls will have less, boys will have more. But then 3 to 4%. In some areas, it is more than 10 to 15%, as in Vasai we find. You find that a child in your class has certain learning disability. What you will do? Ask the parents to remove the child from the school. That you will never ever do. Ignore the child. You will never ever do. You will do something. You are the only chance the child has. Ask other students to help the child. No, that may not be the right way. Report the case to the principal for right action. And the right action can be talking to the experts and sending for informal, formal testing and all. A lot of students come to us for informal testing, and then we give our letter and guide and all those things. Which of the following represents the correct matching of children in column A with their primary characteristics? Okay, देखो ये past question है. Try your best to answer it. You have 45 seconds to do this question. Column A, gifted children. I did not talk about gifted children, but I will give you the note on that. I'll say share those 4-5 files with you. Therein I have talked about. Gifted children mean their IQ is very high. They are very creative, original thinker, very restless. Sometimes they are so good, they know everything, they may not write also. If it is not challenging, if it is not engaging, they become disinterested. So gifted children are assets of the country. No, they should be properly utilized because they are very rare. But at times they can be underperformers also, because they may become disinterested, may not take part, may consider it below their level and everything. So how to handle the children and how to realize their potential. So they are rare case, but if there is a student like this gifted child in your class or in your school, what you are expected to do? That is part of learning children with special needs inclusive classroom. So gifted child क्या करेगा?
Is it D?
Gifted
Ability to learn quickly and independency.
Yes, quickly and independently. So if you want to, you have to give them challenging, original, creative work. if you want to get them engaged. Don't give them routine work, because they will just exhaust it very quickly. They will finish the whole textbook very quickly, and they want something more challenging, more engaging, original and creative. So quickly and independently. So gifted first will be D. Learning disabled, and think original solutions. Creative child will definitely, I think third can be B. Think of original solutions, because he's creative. Attention deficit child will have
C.
tendency to get
C.
distracted. Yes.
C.
And then the rest you can find out. These are the questions. How would you identify a child with learning disability? By administering intelligence test, by seeing their physical appearance, by looking at their notebooks for writing, or observing how much they fight with each other. First is not the right one. Intelligence tests are different.
Is it
And learning
third?
disability test. Third is the better answer.
Third.
Third is the better answer. Because you will understand both reading and writing that is happening. So dyslexia, dyscalculia, you can easily, dysgraphia, you can easily identify. Even dyscalculia. Okay. When teachers have positive beliefs about students and their attitudes, the students become relaxed and stop putting any effort, become demotivated, are not affected, are eager and motivated to learn. I think fourth is a better answer. We just saw a teacher is a source of motivation. He motivates learners. Children develop interest in the classroom when the teacher favors only goods. These are all past questions. The teacher encourages and appreciates each student to participate. They sit in big classroom with their friends. They do not get. I think second is the answer, which is very logical and obvious. Children with special needs should be given no education at all. That is nonsense. Given only vocational training, very tempting, but we have to see all four. Segregated and put in separate institutions, not at all. That's why we have
Inclusion.
Yes, fourth is a better answer. Better, sometimes you will not find it exact answer, but then you have to give the better answer, because there is no negative marking. So mark it. Every year in MH-TET paper, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 questions are wrong. But then that is how it is. Early childhood refers to. So the question came. We have
2 to 8.
2 to 8. Then we have middle also on this. But here
6
they
to 12.
have early childhood.
No, 6 to 12 is later
2
childhood.
to 8.
That is
2
later.
to 8.
If you take 6 to 12, then you are missing the second year role. First year is infancy. 2 to 8 years.
Yes.
Which of the following statements regarding children and their learning is correct? Children's motivation to learn and their capability to learn is predetermined by hereditary only. Now, see, it's a very tricky question. It's a conceptual question. This question will check whether you have understood basic things. Statement regarding is true. Sometimes it will say not correct. So read the question very carefully. Children's motivation to learn and their ability to learn is predetermined by hereditary only. That only word might be a problem. Children's socio-economic background determines and limits their motivation and learning capability. Okay. That means if the child's father is not intelligent or is poor, then the child cannot learn. That is what the statement is saying. Okay. Children have to be rewarded and punished to make them motivated for learning. Okay. All children are naturally motivated to learn and are capable of learning. What answer you will select? You need to justify your answer. Can anyone tell me? At least which are not, second and third are not so related. Regarding their learning is correct. See, the question is asked about their learning. Second and third are not that relevant.
It's
Now,
fourth.
first and second. Motivated to learn, they're capable to learn is predetermined by hereditary only. So first is a problematic sentence. Fourth is that way is a better answer. That is a very all-inclusive type. All children are naturally motivated to learn and capable of learning, provided we create positive learning environment. We create, nice learning, engaging, activity-based, and all those things. So a lot of things depend upon teacher, whether the children will be interested to learn. So to create that interest is teacher's role. If you say that,
sorry, I have a question. Why wouldn't we go for the third one? I mean, if given a glance, I would rather choose the third one than the fourth one. Fourth one would have been my second option.
But tell me, punishment is it's a subjective term. Punishment is what exactly? You cannot punish them physically, but every time you cannot resort to that. But as a belief, if you say that, oh, all children, and I'm a teacher, I can, unless you believe that all can learn, how you can teach? You have to have that confidence that, that all says, no, The secret of education is to respecting the child and the ability to learn. You have to create an instruction that that motivation will go ahead. But if you think that only by rewarding and punishing the children, then only learning will happen, then what about teaching? So this is subjective and it is conditional. Every time reward is not possible, every time punishment is not possible. So here you need to start with the belief. The starting point is that all can learn and I can teach, and they are capable of learning. And we have seen even children with very low IQ can learn. If you find that child has any learning difficulty, disability, whatever, still you have to give the confidence to the parents that ye bachcha kuch na kuch to kar paya. Whatever is possible has to be done. Otherwise, we are doing injustice to child. But you cannot say that just because the child's IQ is less, so you have to use punishment to make him learn. No. Rewarding and punishment, creating incentives is one way of motivating, but that's not the final, or that cannot be the norm or the rule. It is at times, but the belief, the basic concept is that all children have the capacity naturally, and that's what we saw now in the beginning. Every moment is learning moment for the child. The moment the child, even in the womb, the child learns. The brain is wired. Even in the womb, the baby actually dreams. A lot of things happen. So now we realize that learning is continuous. You just cannot stop learning. You are observing something, you are learning. You cannot stop learning. And they are naturally motivated if it is very interesting to them. They would like to learn more. If a child is interested in space, and then you just ask him what is happening to Chandrayaan, the child will be able to, give half an hour talk on that, because that is something of his interest. So if you utilize that, why children get motivated? That's why growth and development, maturity, all these things need to be understood by the teacher because of this. But then the fourth will be a better option. But you have raised a very nice point here. Knowing about principles of growth and development is important for a teacher, because now the question came, why? This knowledge would help the teacher to segregate the children. Nonsense, never. You are not supposed to segregate the children. We have to teach children with learning disability with normal children. The teacher would be able to create a good impression. No, it is not to create impression, it is to create instruction. This knowledge would help the teacher to provide the children with appropriate learning opportunities, better than first, second, but fourth can be still better than that. Don't mark your answer unless you have seen all four. This would make child development a popular. No. Third is a better answer, because the teacher understands the learner. The whole idea before you start teaching is to understand the learner, how the learner is, background, learnability, problem, disability, everything, physical, mental, emotional. Ye kaisa hai, kaisa tha, abhi kaisa hai, how the child has grown up, how the child has learned until now before you teach. You may have all confidence, all resources, still you might fail and fail miserably at times if you fail to understand the learner. A child's development is, you see, Pratham has said, no, Assad survey, 8th standard children cannot read 2nd standard text, and you are starting them teaching 9th standard, then you need to first assess the learnability, where they are, and from now here to where. But to take them to the next step, you need to understand the background. That's why it's a good idea for teachers. I always say that, every class teacher should maintain a file of at least 2 pages. What are the basic achievements? So the next class teacher can, refer to that and get a better picture of the child. Because every teacher will create his or her own teaching ways and experiences on, and that can again impact. Again, because children become habituated to a teacher's way of teaching, teacher's way of creating instruction and everything. So if suddenly the teacher changes, the context changes, the content should also change. A child's development is the result of upbringing, a combination of heredity and environment. I think second is a better answer. Nature and nurture. It is not nature versus nurture. It is nature and nurture. Both will have impact. How will you cater to the needs of visually challenged students of your classroom in an inclusive school? Huh? Now all schools are inclusive, by the way. How you will do it? He has visually board का ठीक से नहीं दिखाई देता, all those things. Soda water glasses करके आया है वो. Use alternate teaching learning methods and resources. Send them to special educator. Provide them extra time. Make them sit with high achievers. I think first is a better answer. You will do something for the child. Otherwise, the child will become a passive person. He will be marginalized, and then slowly he will feel sirf jaane ka aane ka. He will not take any part. So under constructivism, how the child is going to learn? He has the problem, he has the barrier, but still something is possible. You can write in bold letters, or if suppose the child is hard of listening, then you will make him sit in front of in the front bench. When you will go closer to him, you will raise your voice. Something or the other, you will try to help the child learn. so that the child's abilities are utilized. Sometimes the abilities are a problem because of the sensory problem and all those things. But still, you will try to stimulate, create some stimulation. Children are born unruly and need to be civilized by the society, are a gift of God meant to be worshipped, are influenced by social and cultural context they grow up in, come into the world with a blank slate. Third is a better answer. That is, if you understand the concepts, you will have no difficulty answering this. That's why you need to understand growth, development, what Thorndike says and how it is important, what Skinner says, how it is important for teaching and learning. All those things, the understanding of intelligence and how you can utilize that. So why you are learning child development and psychology and everything, education psychology, so that you can understand the learner better and teach accordingly. Now there are lots of topics. I have selected 2-3 only. Lots of topic in the whole syllabus. Intelligence includes the capacity of an individual to produce novel, original answers to problems, the ability to produce a single response to a specific question. Then that is not intelligence. One question can be answered in 4 ways. But we learn from one answer from guides. That's why our children are not creative. And later on, they say become innovative and creative. And when we have not bothered to encourage them to think also independently. A set of capabilities that allows an individual to learn a permanent change in behavior as a result of experience. Intelligence includes, very tricky question. What are not? Let's remove which are not. The capacity of an individual to produce novel, original ideas to problems is creativity. Intelligence can be problem solving, can be reasoning, can be associating things. Not always. That first part is related to creativity. Of course, creativity is part of being intelligent. But let's see. The ability to produce a single response, no. Second is not possible. A set of capabilities that allows an individual to learn. A permanent change in behavior, again, no. So first and third mein answer hai. The capacity of original answers is creative. Third is a better answer. Third is a better answer. When you say that person is intelligent, he can derive knowledge, acquire skills, learn new things, respond to changing situations and all those things. So intelligence means he can utilize his own abilities, physical, mental, emotional, and respond to the situation. Now, these are the general questions which are asked on your learning disability. 5 marks questions. Check any paper. Very major component. 5 से 5 मिलने ही चाहिए, because the syllabus is very limited. Only the basic concepts need to be 4-5 pages का ही material है वो. You will get all 5. Now I have 23 pages and I have taken only 2-3 questions on one page, so that you will have no difficulty. There are, I don't know how many, 75 questions I have taken. We will try our best to solve as many as possible, or I will give the questions with answers. Don't worry. In a progressive classroom setup, the teacher facilitates learning by providing an environment that we will solve the questions now, and then we will revise the topic. In a progressive classroom, now progressive is a very important word here. Progressive classroom setup. Progressive के opposite में stagnant हो जाएगा. What you mean by progressive classroom? It is inclusive, it is creative, there is creative learning happening, children are engaged, it is participative, activity based. Teaching learning process is a collaborative, and it goes ahead as a collaborative effort. It's not just teacher centered or teacher decides. Children also take it ahead. Children also give twist that, okay, you are learning about space, so teacher tell us about what is happening in this and ISRO, Chandrayaan and Mangalyaan. So it becomes in a very creative classroom. It becomes a creative classroom. So co-creation of knowledge happens. So that you can say progressive classroom. You need to understand what is progressive classroom. In a progressive classroom setup, the teacher facilitates learning by providing an environment that promotes discovery, is restrictive, discourages inclusion, encourages repetition. Now, repetition is needed for memory and all, but here the best answer is discovery, not constructivism. Discover your own knowledge. Instead of you tell the structure of cell to Raju, let Raju try to find it out, or let Raju try to draw the structure of cell. Then you will say, hey, see, mitochondria is missing, where is cytoplasm, you have not taken this, you have not taken that. Find out again. Work on that. Then 3rd, 4th times, then he will come out with the complete answer. Then he will never forget what he has done. So that is how you help the child discover his or her own knowledge. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence suggests that. Now, this is a conceptual question. Please understand, in this child development and pedagogy, fact-based questions may not be there. Like, okay, Binet ka formula, chronological age, a mental age divided by chronological in 200 is a fact. So this is something that you can know. But a lot of questions will be very searching questions. They will like to know whether you have understood the concept. What is teaching? What is learning? What is being intelligent? What is constructivism? If a child has this problem, how? Say they are asking you to provide solutions. You have to be a thinking teacher here. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence suggests that every child should be taught every subject in 8 different ways in order to develop all the intelligences. Everyone will not have all the intelligences, but everyone is smart in his her own way. Sachin Tendulkar is smart in sports. Lata Mangeshkar is smart in music or art, or Kalam was smart in numbers, science. Someone will be smart in working with nature, communication, space, designing, a lot of things, and that is his distinctive differential ability also. So the person who is good in designing special space should get into designing. Someone who has the gift of language, linguistic intelligence, should go in editing, reading, writing, or creative expression like screenwriting, journalism, advertising, public relations, this type of field. Someone who is very good in numbers, numerical intelligence, should get into CA, where he has to work with numbers. So he may not have language related intelligence, but the fellow can be very good. You go back to your own school life, you loved certain subjects, you hated certain subjects, you just did not like, or you were not so good in that. But in some fields you were naturally good, maybe drawing. So it's a good idea if you get into that field. But everything cannot be taught. Intelligence is solely determined by IQ test. That is what he falsified. He challenged that. Howard Gardner actually challenged the IQ test, and he said intelligence is multiple. I mean, just not science and math. That was his basic concept. He upturned the whole theory of intelligence. So he rejected that. So B cannot be the answer. Teachers should use MI as a framework for devising alternative ways to teach the subject matter. Okay, someone learns through bodily kinesthetic way. Then can I create some movement-oriented activity? Someone is a visual learner, so can I draw something? Someone is auditory learner, so can I do something? Someone is language, very good in language, so can I have fill in the blanks, match the columns, something like that. So it's a good idea to identify the multiple or differential ability the child has. The ability is an outcome of intelligence, and accordingly you create an alternative ways to teach the same subject matter. For bodily kinesthetic, you will do something. For oral visual learner will do something. Someone who is very good in space, he will do something. So here the creativity will come out. Ability is destiny and does not change over a period of time. That is nonsense. I just talked about your neuroplasticity. You can learn anything at any point of time in your life, provided you are motivated and interested to learn. If you are interested and motivated to learn, learning can definitely happen, at least better than others. So whether the child will learn or not is now more a teacher's responsibility. So when you go for assessment and evaluation, I did not take that topic. At least 5 mark questions will come on that. Why we assess? What are the theories? What will happen if we don't assess? When we assess, is it assessments of the child or the teacher also? Lot of things. If you understand assessment as a basic concept, you will be able to answer any question. But you need to go a little deep. Here the answer will be C. I think C is a better answer here. C is a better answer. Gender is, what is gender? Is a biological entity, physiological construct, innate quality, or social construct. Sex is biological. Whether he's female or male or female is biology. That the nature will decide. But gender, women are inferior, male are superior, patriarchy, matriarchy, is a social construct that is created by culture, norms, and customs and all those things. So it's a social construct. So the answer will be gender is a social construct. And there will be questions on, when you talk about inclusive classroom, gender bias, how you will handle if children have gender bias. If, say, example, you are doing some chemistry related experiment and children say, yeah, acid basic tumhara kaam nahi hai, only boys can handle, this is no, you girls cannot do it, then immediately you have to intervene, because there will be a stereotyping behavior. You need to break that. So gender bias, you should never practice. You should not allow children to practice. So you should know, because the kind of product that you have to give to the society from your school, gender neutral, open-minded, and all those, no, all the problems we know, you have to remove them. So gender bias, you need to understand and need to be watchful whether it is there in the students or in your own, hidden in a way. Sometimes it is in our behavior also. It's a social construct. Which one of following is best suited for emotional development of children? Democratic classroom environment, no involvement of the teacher, that is the task of the parents, nonsense. Teacher is the prime mover. Control classroom environment. If you are controlling classroom environment, then it is difficult. Authoritarian classroom environment, when I enter into the class, pinned off silence, better join the military. The children has to ask questions, has to talk. Otherwise, it's a one-way traffic. Democratic classroom environment is a better way. Means what? Everyone is valued. Everyone's response or reaction will be valued. Everyone is right. We welcome everyone. We are open to listen to everyone, not only the first bench. So the last bench are equally important. So inclusive classroom will happen when there is democratic one. And democratic means emotionally safe and secure. You can voice your opinion. Which of the following is not a suitable formative assessment task? If the teacher is authoritarian, undemocratic, respecting, and always consulting certain students, the other students will be marginalized. Because of his behavior, they will not take part in his teaching also. Because they know, oh, pehle kuch bachcho, he has some blue-eyed boys. See how the children's learning behavior is molded by teacher's behavior. And a lot of things are there. So the teacher needs to be mindful of that. Which one of the following is not a suitable formative assessment task? Aaya dekho. Which one? Open-ended questions, project, observation. ये तो formative. Ranking of the students is definitely not formative. The D will be the answer. Which is not, please understand the question not पूछा है. Question समझने में गलती मत करो. To be an effective teacher, it is important to emphasize the dictating answers from the book, focus on individual learning rather than group activity, avoid disruption caused due to questioning by students. That is wrong. You have to encourage children to ask questions. A good teacher is the one whom students ask the question. Be in touch with each and every child. Emphasize dictating answers from the book. That is nonsense. Focus on individual learning rather than group activity. But not every time it will be possible. Sometimes you have to go for group activity. But the D is a better answer. If you are in touch with each and every child, you are observing. When you are teaching Pythagoras, you are clear whether last bench will understand or not. So you give some other examples. You create an activity. You have bodily kinesthetic students, then you will remove the benches and you will say, Raju, stand here, Sanju, stand here, Priti, you stand here. If you know these two, this distance can be formed. Let's take tape and all. So this is bodily kinesthetic activity according to their learning style you created. So Howard Gardner comes into picture. So you can create instruction that way. That way you can be in touch with each and every child as a learner and how the child learns. So D is a better answer here.
So
Tell me.
So can we wind up? It's 11.
Yeah, within 2 minutes. 2 minutes I'll do. What I'll do, see, these are very, very nice questions. 75 questions. What I'll do, I'll send the file, all these files which I showed you, and these 75 questions with answers I'll send. I'll send them to Tiza madam, Cinderella madam, so she will be able to share with you. Now, please understand one thing. In this paper, 5 marks questions definitely on this learning disability, inclusive classroom. At least 5 questions on your Watersky or Piaget or Thorndike, your Skinner, their achievements and how they are relevant to the teaching. And most of the questions will be on common sense. If you have the teaching common sense, I see no reason why you cannot. One question definitely on Howard Gardner. One question related to behavior. One question related to at least 3 questions on growth and development. So if you look at the question paper of last 3-4 years, you will be able to predict at least 90% questions, at least the areas. If you see now, the focus is more on the development part and the role teacher has to play. Just not theory. They are not asking too much of theory. They are asking the applied part. They are giving you questions. ऐसे situation में तुम क्या करोगे? But if to answer that, you need to have your concepts very clear. What is teaching? What is learning? When teaching happens, learning happens. Your role, all those things, and inclusive classroom and all those things. So here we will wait, my friends. Please understand. Now you will come across 10 books. The good idea is to stick to one good core material. Go back to your D.Ed and B.Ed. Child psychology, education psychology, psychology of education, whatever you have studied, understand the basics and practice as many questions as possible. I have, all 75 questions cannot be done, but what I'll do, I'll send all the material that I showed you for your use and with the answers, so that you will have the answer. If you want if you have any problem with any answer, you can always get back to me. Possibly I'm there on the group, so you can definitely be in touch with us. Amita will be taking your session on 12th. It will be on Zoom because she will be teaching a lot of things on board. she will teach the part, because PPT will not be the right thing of doing. So she will be actually teaching on board. For our regular students, she does it very efficiently. So no problem. So don't miss out her session, because you will get key inputs. So here I will wait. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you and discuss, in fact, or share whatever we understood of teaching, learning, and child psychology and all. So thank you very much. I'll now give me a second. I'll go back to this. And my session is over. If you have any questions, I'm there on the group. You can always ask. So Cinderella, madam.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all
I
the
added some value and give you a bird's eye view exactly how you can go for this. Master your concepts very clear. That's the best thing to do. You will be able to do it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your feedback. So
yes. Before we take questions, sir, I would just like to say a big thanks to you for your session. It was a wonderful session. You all not only showed what type of questions can be expected, but you also kind of cleared so many concepts. And I must say that participants, if you look at current B.Ed syllabus, I think all that what sir was speaking about is there in current B.Ed syllabus. To be specific, there is a paper called Childhood and Growing Up, where you will learn about growth, development, and there are books. Okay, as per the syllabus, there are books also. So please find out, or we will also put them on the group so that you all can look at those books. Childhood and Growing Up, there is a paper called Teaching and Learning. Whatever theories of learning and everything sir was talking about, you can get directly from there. There is also a paper in B.Ed curriculum called Creating an Inclusive School. Okay, wherein you will get to know about all the learning difficulties, disabilities, and also I will definitely tell all of you to go through these books while you prepare for your MH-TET. They will be of great help, because all the concepts are very well explained there, and you will get all the theories also very well explained in those books. So we will put screenshots, or at least the cover pages of these books on the group. Still, there are around 20 people who have not yet joined the WhatsApp group. So please do so. If you don't have the link, just message me on my number. I will provide you the link. So once again, big thanks to you. And it was a wonderful session. All the participants will definitely benefit, and they will be ready for their TET very well.
I will suggest one thing. If you go to NPTEL, you will find Swayam, a course on ECC, Early Childhood Care and Education, and teaching children with learning disability. If you go through that study material, anyway, you can freely download it. Beautifully given. Everything is covered. Too good. Very good. I mean, in fact, these are free courses. They will help you. You can get the AICT certificate also. We have done all these courses, and they added good value. All these basic concepts are cleared very thoroughly in the best possible way. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, we'll take questions now, those who have questions. And thank you very much, all the participants. And sorry for being 15 minutes late. But being first day, we had little instructions and all. So it also took little time. But those who have questions, so we'll answer them.
Please ask your questions. I think someone asked a question about math.
Donella,
about math.
Yeah.
Cinderella madam very rightly said that if you are commerce student, then you have to take your social studies only, because you are not a BSc student. Though you have taken math as a method, you need to go for social studies, because that is the safe bet, in fact. And BSc, those who have done BSc, they opt for science and math for 60 marks.
So please, can you stop sharing so that the screen can be...
Okay.
Good morning. Good morning, ma'am, and good morning, sir. I just wanted to ask, like this, sir has given us a number of persons who have given theories to refer to it. So along with that, should we also refer to Piaget, Kolsberg, Neumann, Chomsky, and Carl Rogers?
All. You have a list of them.
Yes,
all,
because
I think you must have studied them all in your
yes, I got these names when I had attended a seminar from my school. So they had given us only these theories to be referred to. Plus now we have got what you have given right now.
At least 5 marks questions you can expect from that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions?
Any more questions, please? The notes I will be sharing, please go through them. There are very nice notes from our resources, which we use for our students. So you will get complete idea of that. And the question papers, that question back I'm sending, 75 questions with answers I'll send. And you will share immediately with Cinderella madam so that you can take them. More questions? Any questions?
Sir, I don't have a question, but the course that you said from AICT, if you could put it on the group, no?
And just visit NPTEL.
MP?
Early Childhood Care and Education, fully recognized course, and that is considered 40th best course in the world.
Okay,
It got
MPTEL.
very good. nptl.ac.in. I'm an NPTEL star. I have to promote NPTEL. And Swayam also. There is a course on learning disability.
Yeah, Swayam.
It's a very nice course for teachers. Very good courses, and the study material is very relevant to your TET, CT, net set also. Very nice one. So you can do that. You can use it. You can freely download it.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Sir, so where can we download the previous year's question papers for?
See, all question papers of CTET are available on ctet.nic.in. But Maharashtra TET papers are not always available. But if you give search, you will get some question papers which are memory based. Now they give the question paper, but some question papers are available. Or there are a lot of publishers who have published past question papers books.
Okay, thank you.
Mostly are in Marathi. That's the problem. Mostly of them are in Marathi. Any more questions, please? Feel free to ask.
So there are some comments you can just go through in chat box.
Yeah.
Regarding your session. Thank you very much, participants, for your kind words. It really motivates us, and thank you a lot for registering for this course. And
to Cinderella madam.
Oh no, sir. It is full STIE family, and with my principal, management, and other faculty members also. And a big thanks to Sir Prakash also for always encouraging and always being there for such sessions when we need him. Thank you very much. So with this, if there are no more questions, once again, I will remind you that tomorrow's session will be on Zoom. So please join the WhatsApp group. We will send the link on WhatsApp as well as through mail also. Some of you do not see your mails regularly, I feel. So there were queries morning also that we have not received the link. Please check your mailboxes and we will give you all the information there too. Okay, thanks a lot. With that, we will end the session for today.
All the best.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ma'am Giselle, for being there. Our senior most faculty from St.Teresa.
Cindy, can I say something?
Yes, sure.
Sir Prakash, I totally enjoyed your session. Dr. Cinderella and me teach this paper, but it was the first time that we were on the other side of the fence, and you taught so much. It was like a crash course in psychology. Enjoyed it, and most beautifully you explained how to analyze the meaning of questions. So, you've guided them into selecting the right answers also. Thank you. God bless you. Thanks, Cindy, for such a fantastic workshop that you have organized.
Thank you, ma'am. Most welcome. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, participants. See you all tomorrow again at 9:30. Tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Of Diwali.